Hello, Massimo. It's a
Hello.
pleasure to have you here and have a chat about the biotech space with someone who's currently building a new startup from the ground up. You've been using your business background in a healthcare and life science space for the past 30 years,
Mhm.
working on preclinical and clinical drug development, and of course, bringing your expertise in the commercial and operational aspects. A big chunk of your career was spent in pharma with 𝗕𝗵𝗿𝗆 and Recordati, and then you moved into the biotech space as a CEO of Napo Therapeutic and then CEO of Neurolieve Therapeutic, which is the current position that you're holding. And Neurolieve is developing therapies for the treatment of peripheral neuropathic pain. Let me start from the beginning by asking you to give me maybe a brief overview of your journey so far. Thank you.
Okay. No, thanks a lot, Cecilia, for hosting me. Well, I've been working in the pharma biotech industry for almost 30 years, primarily serving as business unit director for large pharmas like Recordati and 𝗕𝗵𝗿𝗆. And then I decided to move after long experience in Paris, 7 years. I spent there serving as a managing director of for EMEA region for rare disease business in Recordati. I decided to move back to Italy and to be much more entrepreneurial, so to set up companies like investor, co-founder, and CEO, serving as a CEO. First in Napo Therapeutics in 2021, and lastly in Neurolieve Biosciences. As I'm really passionate to identify lead drug candidate that could, let me say, ameliorate the quality of life of patients suffering from diseases with high unmet medical need, or there are no alternative options, or the current treatments are inefficacious in the market. So that's why I'm really passionate to identify molecules in biotech. Mainly, I prefer biological drugs. That's why we decided to move. I decided to participate and co-invest in Neurolieve Biosciences. Neurolieve Biosciences is a newly incorporated company last year in the UK, thanks to a collaboration with the 𝗓𝗏. As you know, 𝗓𝗏 is one of the prominent medical research and charity company in the UK, along with NLC Health Ventures and myself. And we are in a preclinical stage. We are developing this innovative drug for neuropathic pain, peripheral neuropathic pain, is a biological drug. And we are now closing, hopefully, the seed round, the first tranche of the seed round before moving to the production, manufacturing, and then hopefully in the beginning of 2028 to the first in human. This is a very clear. My journey now is to move with this kind of projects, and I'm also charity ambassador in a company in association in Italy as a member of the CEO Italian Association in Italy. We would like to work with friends. We would like to work with young people that are willing to develop some innovative solutions in the market. So we are supporting them as a mentor and coaches as I'm older than them, and I've spent a lot of time in struggling with the different challenges. So that's why we like to help them to move on with their projects.
That's fantastic. That's so interesting. And I have a question that is related to both your work and Neurolieve. So why did you choose specifically that project? But also to the last comment that you made, being part of this association, which is helping young researchers basically building new venture themselves. And how
Mhm.
do you assess whether a company, like I said, sorry, whether a scientific project has a company potential? How do you select the right
Mhm.
projects?
Yes, no, that's a good question, Cecilia. I think the criteria I used to select the projects are very simple. So I would like to first of all make a very deep market landscape analysis to understand if there are it's very crowded, there will served by other treatments, gold standards, or there are other therapeutics under development. Which kind of therapeutics are in development in terms of small molecules, biologics, or RNAs, RNAs, everything that is innovative. And then based on this kind of approach, I would like to understand what could be the potential market opportunity for the drug, which is the stage of preclinical, which kind of studies that have been already performed. For example, in vitro, in vivo, which are the outcomes, the results, and which is the last mile that the company, the drug has to complete prior to entering the first human. So I'm really passionate to identify this stage of company and I'm really work on translating research into innovation as much as I can. So from preclinical to clinical. Of course, I have a much more commercial background, so I would like to take immediately look at what could be the potential value of the drug, and what could be the usable solution for the patients. So how many patients we can treat with this innovative drug.
Absolutely. And I think that, of course, you, as you said, you come from a business commercial background, and you can easily look at those aspects very, very easily. For example, if we are thinking about scientists that interest in moving in the venture building strategy, business operation, do you think would they face more challenges than you did? Of course, applying your expertise in the scientific, in a scientific project that maybe you are less familiar with.
Yeah, this is a very, very important question that you made to me, because what I've learned working with venture capital, with scientists, with the CEO or startup or founders, I think it's extremely important that this project should be led at the beginning by science, but it's quite difficult to find a scientist with a commercial or business background or mindset, and that's why I'm really encourage the venture capital to look at not me, but to look at people that have this kind of a background, because otherwise the science will remain in the scientist environment only, and it's difficult to explore the business opportunity. So I think it's important to have both, or better, in my view, is much better to have a businessman with the ability to understand the science. I think this is the most appropriate solution for a startup, because there are so many challenges throughout the journey, and I think the scientists don't have this ability to navigate in this difficult environment. I think that's my view. But of course, it is something that is also cultural. I would say that in Italy is almost like that, but also in the UK, in other parts of the world. So I think almost the venture capital should learn from this experience.
Yes, and something that I've seen from my point of observation is maybe the scientists behind the project will stay as scientific advisors, for example, so still bringing their scientific expertise and guiding the scientific strategy. But you need a commercial business person that is able to look at the project and see if it's, can we really deliver this product to the market, to the patients, because it's another set of expertise, of course, that's needed there. And while working with this association that, of course, is supporting the scientists in building projects, Like I'm assuming that you've seen lots of different, let's say, phenotypes of scientists. Is there any type of scientist that is easier to work with on these kind of projects?
Well, it's very important that when a scientist will make a pitch of the idea of the project, I immediately after a few minutes I can recognize if the scientist will remain only in his or her comfort zone, so just within the science. But sometimes I found it very difficult for any business angels or investors that are not familiar with the science to understand the real business opportunity. So, and I think the most appropriate scientist founders are the founders that are able to immediately in a very few minutes explore the business opportunity to the investors, to the audience. Not to remain so tight to the science, but they provide the ability to explore the business opportunity. And also another element that I'm considering is also the team. If the team is only scientists, is a real problem, because they can deliver a lot of publications, studies, they can lead very good results, but in the end, sometimes they're looking focus on the final execution of the project. So, and in terms, I think we have to educate this very important scientists to be much more to have a managerial approach. So, from the idea to the strategy to the execution is a very important journey for these startups. Sometimes these startups are failing also mainly for this reason. So 90% of the startups are shutting down after 1 year because due to the lack of cash, because they didn't identify the right execution, or whether they made a lot of in vitro, in vivo studies that are, I think, useless to move forward with the project.
Is not what's asked by the investors, for example.
Yes.
And yeah, of course, to build a new venture, you need a great science, a great team and strategy, but also the money, as we touched on. And as a CEO of an early stage biotech, you know it very well, and a large portion of your time is and will be spent in fundraising and in building investors' relationships as well. Is it something that you learn on the job when you transition into the biotech space? Like, how do you approach these kind of interactions?
Yes. Well, when you are in a large pharmaceutical company, of course, you have billions available for leading your projects. When you are leading and you put your money also as investor or a co-founder in startups, definitely you have to take a daily closer to the cash in your bank account, and to have to be very, very tied to the real ability to translate the money into results, outcomes. It's very hard job, frankly speaking, especially in this when the company is in a preclinical stage, because the venture capitals we're waiting for when you are already in a clinical development, because they would like to de-risk as much as possible their investments. So, and they usually enter into the Series A, so we're well advanced stage. So the target that I'm really in focus my attention are the business angels or family offices. But anyway, in this situation is always the same story. So you need one lead investors, one company, one family office or business angels association that are trusting you, that they feel that is a good opportunity. Then other investors will come up, but in the end it's very difficult to at the beginning spend now almost 1 year and a half. Few years ago we will be in 6 months you can find the money. Now there is a lot of liquidity in the market, but of course there are also the business angels and the family offices are dealing like venture capitalists. So they're changing their mind. So, and they are much more de-risking their projects as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a very tough moment, but you have to be very resilient. You have to be constant discussing with them, create opportunities, move with the different angles. So it's a very let me say full-time job in the end. So
Yeah.
and what I would like to underline that also the venture builders, that there are plenty of venture builders. I think they have to recognize the efforts of the team working on raising money because it's a full-time job. So you have to make so many pitches, you have to attend so many congresses, around table, you have to call so many people, you have to send call emails to 200 potential investors. So it's a very, very tough job. And I think the venture builder, we would like to not only, let me say, skin in the game, but also to support with their network the founders, investors, and the CEO, because this is very difficult to have to move forward in this
Yeah.
project.
Absolutely. It's so valuable because, as you said, at
Yes,
those early stages of a company, basically what you need is not just the money that the investor can bring, but
exactly.
the network, the strategy, the market awareness, and it's even more valuable than the money at the end of the at the end of the
Yes,
story.
exactly, exactly.
Um, and I'm curious, like with your pharma background, did you
Hmm.
have more credibility with investors, or was it like a more challenging for you?
Well, I think my pharma background could be interesting for investors, potential investors, because of course, for day zero, starting from day zero, I'm discussing with the large farmers for the exit.
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
is a very important, I think, because you have when you start a startup, apart from the preliminary analysis, you have to look at the immediately after. So you have to immediately understand which could be the potential large farmers that can invest or can make a deal with you. Because of course, the reason why you are creating a startups is to provide a future exit, of
Mm-mm.
course. Not because only a question of money, but because of course after clinical development you don't have enough money and capability and team to invest in this venture, but you need someone with a large shoulders, I think, and with a much capability to invest, to make their efforts, organization. So I think it's very important for the founders to immediately identify which could be the real potential investors in the end, and working with them side by side, because I think it's important to provide them a constant update about the progression of your venture, and understand when they are willing to be part of the deal. So if
Yeah.
they are, I think it's the right moment to catch up immediately and to start immediately to sit down on a term sheet or something like that, because sometimes the timing is crucial for the venture, so
Yeah.
for the ventures.
Do you think that having a corporate venture capital on the deal, it's will make things easier because of course they will look
Yeah.
at the therapy and think, okay, maybe we can acquire it after, when it's the right time. So let's invest in the project now and then take the fruits later.
Yes, I think the corporate venture capital are most suitable and appropriate partners in the end, I think.
Mhm.
I had it very because the language is the same, so I think it's very important to understand immediately which are the terms of the deal.
Mhm.
And of course, anyone has the metrics, and they have
Yeah.
to respect the metrics and guidelines internally. But I think as I have this kind of a background, I can understand which are the metrics that I look for,
Yeah.
and I can evaluate the venture in the proper way. So just to match their expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touch on something that's actually quite important because especially scientists that come straight from academia or they
Mm,
are new to this industry anyway, they often struggle to see the difference between the role that pharma and biotech play in drug development. So they, of course, all work, to achieve the same goal. So to develop new therapies, to, of course, bring to the patients. But how they get there is different, and the stage in which they are involved is different. As you said, like
yeah,
biotech startup maybe will, start from discovery, they will go up to maybe phase 2 clinical trials, and then pass the project to the pharma that will make it,
yeah,
basically bring it to the market, and of
yeah.
course negotiate with all the different countries and all of that. And the big difference is also the level of risk that's involved in this game. Let's say startups run on uncertainty. There is a way of saying that I really like, and I think is very fitting, is that you build the bridge while you are working on it. How did you personally adjust to this constant ambiguity? Let's say.
Yes. Well, I, for example, for Neurolieve Biosciences, just an example is a spin out for the University of Bristol that they developed this preclinical biological drug in combination with Lyfarc, and
Mhm.
immediately. It was immediately clear that the researcher was the scientist was so much passionate about what he developed, and it was very hard to take him on board
Mhm.
because he has a typical approach saying that okay, this drug could be reasonable for this indication, but in reality, based on the results and based on the study that should be performed, looking at the market opportunity was a completely different angle that we were to consider, and in the end, he was so much. Closer to his baby that he lost
Yeah.
completely the opportunity to work with us, and we decided to ask him to push back to move back. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
why I think it's extremely important to have some very smart scientists that we would like to understand that she or he needs support from an organization that can bring the project to the next phase, to the next step. And I think it's very important to have this setback and to be a part of a team where he's not let me say, the leading person, but could
Mhm.
support the organization in order to move forward. I think this is a very crucial moment because usually they think that, okay, my baby is worth 10 billion, but in reality is just an idea or just preclinical preliminary study. So
Yeah.
the value is not so high. So that's why you need the support from others, from organization, from venture builder, from founders or co-founders or investors in order to bring it to the next phase. And then you can say that, of course, this project will be available for the market.
Yeah.
But this is something that usually I found difficult to. This is a typical approach that we have with the scientists.
Yes, and I think it would be valuable to understand, apologies, what's the level of support that, for example,
Yeah.
LifeArc and NLC can provide to this kind of project. So if a scientist thinks that having, something going on that actually could turn into a potential therapy, how can they help?
I think they can provide the supporting from the scientific point of view,
Hmm.
but also in terms of credibility, reputation. It's
Hmm.
very important in the market because I understood that now I've been working in biotech and venture capital environment in the last 5 years, and I immediately understand that the investors are looking at who is leading the project, so who is the team. The science, yes, is important, but not so relevant. In the end, what could be the market opportunity and the timing of exit. So they absolutely understand, because they are investors, so they don't care about what they invest. So they can invest in food, in biotech, whatever. But what is important for them is the length of the period of time, and which are the hard, also the challenges that the organization should face, and who is leading the team, which is the team, the organization. Also in terms of advisors or scientific advisory board members. So they would like to be reassured that there are people that can lead the execution, rather than if you're dealing with a biological drug or small molecules. I discussed several times that this is an innovative biological drug. They don't care. So in reality, they don't care. So they're thinking that is like fruit and something that you can buy everywhere. So you have to convince that this is a very innovative solution that you can bring into the market with a high potential of return of investment. This is something that they would like to listen.
Yes, yes. And it's there are, of course, different modalities that you can start with, and that's just a starting point, of course, and maybe in your pipeline you will bring new products on to get to the same exit point, right?
Or usually, based on according to my rare disease experience, usually I prefer to move with the niche indication. And then if the mechanism of action is valuable for other indication, to expand to larger, to further indications, because the market potential will be extremely high.
That's very interesting. Is there anything, so I think you mentioned the fact that, of course, the science is just a starting point, but is there any modality, any platform on any therapeutic area that you think in the next decade will really expand?
Well, for example, recently I came up with a very interesting project, and I think this is the real future, present and future. This is I'm looking at mainly in two therapeutic areas: immunology, hemato-oncology. These are the major areas that I'm looking for new innovative drugs. But I'm really fascinated about companies that are developing nucleic acid platform in order to deliver mRNA or siRNA therapies. I think this is the real future, because in this way we would like to be much more precise in target medicines, and I think with so many DNA defects, based on my experience in rare diseases, I think this is the very area where we would like to invest in the future. Definitely you have to consider, I just learned from McKinsey survey in last few months that in 2030, so in the next 5 years, the 70% of the treatment will be biologics. So they're completely changing the sector, because so many medicines will suffer from patent cliff, but there are so many investments in biologics. They're very high expensive, but I think as soon as this is something that already said in a round table in Switzerland last 2 months ago, I very fascinated to say that now the access to biologics is very limited and costs a lot. For the national health systems. But if we would like to develop more biological drugs, and we would like to create the good access to patients, I think the cost will be extremely low and will be accessible also for the national health system to pay. I think this is something is shift mindset, I think, that we would like to consider, because the market is going to that direction.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's of course your pharma expertise that comes back to inform us on which project to invest in at the very early stage. Well, fantastic, Massimo. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was a pleasure to really explore this space with you, and all the best with Neurolieve.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, for your invitation. Thank you.